Good morning, guys. Welcome to Livingseeds Farm. Welcome to our garlic talk. The subject is growing great garlic. And I've done this talk a couple of times. There's a number of these videos on YouTube. So I'm not going to do exactly the same talk that I've done previously. If you go onto our YouTube channel, our channel's name is Livingseeds Farm. You can, and there's a playlist for garlic. There's a whole lot of garlic videos inside there. You can see our very old garlic videos when we were doing everything on a cell phone and it was like, not that great. And we're getting better and better at making videos. So this talk, I'm going to concentrate on three things. I'm still going to tell you how to grow great garlic, but I'm going to give you an overview. And if you need more information, and I strongly recommend that you go and watch one of our videos and actually go and watch them 2 or 3 times. Take notes because the notes are important. It's the small things that you forget, okay, that make a difference between poor garlic and great garlic. I'll be doing 3 things. I'm going to be telling you how to grow great garlic. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to tell you about our trial outcomes. And I'll talk about our trials just now because it's very important in how we learn about growing garlic. I'm going to focus on pests and diseases with garlic. I'm going to give you a brief overview. Garlic isn't really a major pest or disease attracting crop, but there are a couple of pests and diseases that you need to be aware of. And for the guys that are in the Cape, you need to be aware of rust, and I'll be talking about that. And then I'm going to focus on our mistakes because we make mistakes when we're growing garlic. Okay, it's as simple as that. We make mistakes when we're growing anything, actually. And it's basically learning from your mistakes. And I do the mistakes so you can actually learn from my mistakes and not do my mistakes. Cool, so let's just go through the basics. Okay, the basics of growing great garlic. Most people, and we see this on our Facebook group every single spring, because it's normally around spring, early summer. People are buying garlic in the shop, and the garlic, if you buy the garlic, there's green sprouts coming out of the garlic, and they're going, oh, free garlic, I can plant this garlic. Planting garlic in spring is just, it's the wrong time of the year. It doesn't work. And if you're buying garlic in spring that is sprouting, it's probably northern hemisphere garlic. We're in the southern hemisphere. Garlic in the northern hemisphere does not do well in the southern hemisphere for the first couple of years. Okay, those of you that have tried to plant, who's tried to plant shop garlic that was sprouting? Who's done exceptionally well? Okay? Nobody. Okay? Well, I'll tell you why now. Okay? So how do you tell if the garlic in the shop is imported garlic or local garlic? Does anybody know? It says made in China. 100% correct. It says made in China. Do not buy Chinese garlic. Okay? So one of the import requirements for imported garlic is that there aren't allowed to be any roots exposed because the roots can contain soil matter and the roots can contain soil pathogens. So imported garlic normally looks like this. Okay? So this is one of our garlics. I've just cut the roots clean. Okay? But imported garlic, this is called a basal plate, and the basal plate is clean of root material and soil matter. It's an import requirement. One of the other import requirements is that the garlic is supposed to be irradiated. And when you irradiate garlic, you basically kill the garlic. The garlic should not be able to grow. But if you're buying Chinese garlic that is sprouting, it hasn't been irradiated. Okay, which means that any pathogens that are inside this garlic, so if you look inside here, okay, there's a whole lot of holes and crevices and things. This is where fungus and hojas and bacteria can actually survive. And if the garlic is not irradiated, you break this garlic up, you plant the garlic inside your soil, you've got no idea what you're looking at, and you're putting a disease into your soil. So that is the main reason why you shouldn't plant a Chinese garlic. Cool. There's another reason why you shouldn't plant Chinese garlic, and I'll tell you that, or buy Chinese garlic, and I'll tell you about that now. So Livingseeds supplies a range of garlic. We are the only company in South Africa that currently supplies 21 varieties. I think our closest competitors 3 or 4 varieties, and they got their varieties from us. Okay? So we supply, I think, 21 varieties. This year it's 21. We grow 29 varieties of garlic on our farm. And it's something that we are very proud of, that we have built up a reputation for supplying the best garlic in the country and the widest variety of garlic in the country, which is really very cool. And we've got garlic from the giant garlic, which is the easiest garlic to grow, and this is actually not a garlic, this is a leek that's masquerading as a garlic, all the way through to this is purple glazer, but we've got a number of Siberian varieties that are actually quite difficult to grow, but they taste very nice. And it's a case of, but all garlic tastes the same, hey? No, it doesn't. Okay? All garlic definitely does not taste the same. Every single garlic has different nuances with flavor. And what I'll do is I'll actually show you how to taste garlic just now. I didn't do that yesterday. Okay, so just like women, garlic has conditions. Only the women are laughing. The men are like sort of, the men are going, we know. Okay, so if you follow the conditions for garlic, the garlic is going to grow. Okay, and it's just like your wife. If you give the wife the right conditions, your wife is going to blossom and she's going to be the best wife possible. But this is not a counseling session. This is a garlic session. Okay, so garlic has a planting window. In South Africa, the planting window is the middle of February to the end of April. And depending where you are in the country, it's like a sliding scale. Anything planted after the end of April, you're probably going to get a harvest. It's not going to be a great harvest. Planting too early in autumn, so if you're planting the garlic now, it's still very hot out. So the garlic is not going to enjoy the heat that it's been subjected to. And what that heat does is it upsets the cycle inside the garlic. The garlic's got a cycle, and it needs to run through a specific cycle to ensure that it produces nice heads. And I'm going to tell you how to actually manage that. Okay, so if you're in Gauteng, middle of February, the further north you go in Gauteng, you can push that back by a week or two. The guys in Centurion, beginning of March, if you're down in the Cape, plant middle of April. Eastern Cape, Western Cape, middle of April is great for garlic. So it just depends where you are in the country, but that's your window. And you know what, it's not, this is the second week in February, and I'm in the Vaal, and I have to plant my garlic on the second week in February. It doesn't work like that. Okay, we start planting garlic on this farm, second week in February. We will continue to plant, because we can't plant all of our varieties on a single day. We will plant all the way through to the middle of March. It takes us about a month to get all of our garlic in the ground. So it's the middle of February, I must plant my garlic today. It's not that. There's a window that you can actually work with. So don't get fixated on, it's this day. All right. The general rules of planting garlic. You need to plant the garlic with the sharp end up. So if you look at the garlic, there's a little flat piece over here where it attached to the basal plate at the bottom. It's a little flat piece, that's the bottom. Okay, and there's a sharp end over here. You plant the garlic with the sharp end up, and you plant it 3 times deeper than the garlic is long. So, min of meer naaste by plus min is ongeveer. That deep. Okay? If it's this deep, it's not a crisis. If it's that deep, it's not a crisis. If you live in a very, very hot environment, plant the garlic deeper, because the soil will be cooler the deeper the garlic is planted. If you like in high in the Drakensberg where it's nice and cold, stick it 1 or 2 times deeper. That's fine. But once again, it's an average that you need to work at. The planting distance, 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters. What we do is we don't measure it. We take a garden fork. We cut all 4 tines halfway, so the tine is now half the length, and we cut the 2 tines out. So now you've got a fork that it used to be 4, now it looks like this. Okay? And we just jab it into the ground, and that is the depth that all of our garlic gets planted at, irrespective of the size of the garlic. And we have a whole lot of these forks, and the whole team goes down, and they make holes in the ground, and off we go. The nice thing is it's nice and blunt, so they don't punch holes in my drip irrigation. Okay. Fertilization is critically important. And the fertilization has to be correct. So the fertilization, what needs to happen with your fertilization is you want to get the garlic growing, and you want as much leaf crop as possible above the soil before winter hits. That is your very, very first goal that you want to achieve. And I'll explain to you why you want that now. So the way that you do that is you feed a high nitrogen fertilizer. So that would be, we only use Talborn Organic, so we use the Talborn Vita Green, and we put it down at 100 grams per running meter. You should put it down at 100 grams per running meter. At the same time, you need to put down calcium, either in the form of calcitic lime, or in Afrikaans, landboukalk, or you can use bone phos, also at 100 grams per running meter. So if you've got 2 lines of garlic, so let's say this table is your bed, and you've got 2 lines going down the center of the table over here. You put down 100 grams per running meter. If you decide this bed is wide enough, I'm going to put 4 rows of garlic, you put down 200 grams per running meter. 100 grams on this side and 100 grams on this side. Does it make sense? Okay, cool. Same with the bone phos or the calcitic lime, 100 grams per running meter. The next thing that you need to do is you need to mulch your garlic. And I'll explain, you'll understand why mulching is important in the next chapter. Okay, mulching, you need to spend, if you're going to spend money on your garlic crop, spend money on mulch. I don't care what you mulch with. You can mulch with, we're going into autumn, there are plenty of leaves that are dropping off trees. You can go and buy straw or hay. You can go and buy wood chips. You can go and buy, we sell pecan nut shells. We sell mushroom compost. Basically anything. If you've got a nice big compost pile, even if the compost has not broken down completely, take that and spread it on top of your soil as a mulch. Do not dig it in. Never, ever dig mulch into your soil. And the same with compost. Never, ever dig compost into your soil. That goes against everything that you've learned. Am I right? Hey? Yeah? Okay. So I'll talk about that just now. So your mulch, when you put your mulch down, it needs to be 10 centimeters thick. What's going to happen is that mulch is going to collapse down to 5 centimeters. The minute that you start seeing soil through the mulch, put 10 centimeters down again. This is the key. This is the key to growing great garlic. Cool. Then it's consistent soil moisture. Garlic hasn't got a very extensive root system. It doesn't like competition. It doesn't like being interplanted with other crops. So you can plant garlic next to your roses. It's absolutely fantastic. There's no competition between the roses and the garlic plants. If you plant garlic next to herbs or tomatoes or whatever, there's going to be, well, you can't grow tomatoes in winter. But if you plant garlic next to cabbages or Swiss chard or one of the winter crops, their root systems are in competition. And because the root systems are at the same level. Am I making sense? Okay. The garlic will suffer. Garlic is a robust, strong spice that you can use. It is not a robust, strong plant that can outcompete other plants. It just can't do that. It's not designed like that. Okay. Now, I've just finished off on mulching. So watering. Let me talk about watering quickly. So with watering, the garlic needs constant moisture. What's going to trap the moisture inside your soil is mulch. If you are mulching correctly, you need to water less because the water is trapped inside your soil and it doesn't evaporate. Whenever the sun bakes down on your soil, It's drying out the mulch, but the mulch, half of the mulch is dry, half of the mulch is wet, and your soil is moist. Those of you that are good mulchers understand this principle, and you can go into our show garden. Unfortunately, we had rain yesterday. So yesterday afternoon, the guys that were here, I said to them, go out, go and move the pecan nut shells. We hadn't had rain for 2 weeks. Underneath the pecan nut shells, the soil was wet. Okay, we had rain yesterday, so I can't tell you to do that. Well, I can, but you know. Cool. So watering is important. The type of watering is also important. If you are, who waters their garlic with drip irrigation? Anybody with drip irrigation? A couple of people. Do you guys have rust on your garlic? Little orange spots. Who waters their garlic with sprinklers? Do you have rust on your garlic? Okay, that is the key. If you are watering your garlic with sprinklers, you are going to get rust. The guys that are in the Cape, your winter rainfall area, you have rust on your garlic. The reason why you have rust on your garlic is because of winter rainfall. Okay, and there's a way to combat it, and I'll talk about that in the pests and diseases section. Look at investing in drip irrigation, especially if you're going to go large on garlic. It's pointless spending money on garlic, spending money on mulch. Now you've got garlic that's getting rust. The rust spores stay inside your soil, and it just perpetuates next season. It's not cool. Okay, so thank you. This is a special import. So this is our garlic planting tool. And it's probably 20 centimeters or 18 centimeters. So it's once again, I say 15 by 15. It's min of meer naaste by plus minus ongeveer. And we've got a whole lot of these, and this is what we use. And you can see it's not even perfect. Okay? This is what we use to plant our garlic. It's a fantastic tool. And it goes quickly. So let's talk about how do you get, who grew giant garlic? Who grew giant garlic like this? Hey? Nice. Inez, I know you grew giant garlic like this, but you know how to grow garlic. Okay? So it's a case of growing giant garlic like this is not difficult. Okay? Even with these garlics over here. These garlics are great. This might look small, but if you look at the size of the cloves are they're fantastic. And this is a nice, easy peeling garlic as well. So you need to understand bulb formation. And garlic bulb formation happens under 3 conditions. Okay, so the very first condition is the day length. So now you've planted your garlic has grown, you fertilized your garlic in autumn, you put your mulch on, you're watering on a regular basis, the garlic is looking great, the garlic has grown, okay, and now winter hits and the garlic stalls. And it just sits there and looks at you. It still needs water. So it still needs constant, it doesn't need as much water because it's not in active growth, but the soil must still be constantly moist. In spring, as it warms up, we go from the shortest day in the year to, we now go to the longest day in the year, which is late December. Okay, as the day length increases, this is the first signal for the garlic to start bulbing. And there's 3 signals. The first one is day length, 13 hours. It needs 13 hours of day length. Not all of them need 13 hours. Some of them need 11 hours. Some of them need 14 hours. Some of them need 14.5 hours. But on average, you're looking at 13 hours of day length. That is the first signal for the garlic to start bulbing, which is why when you plant garlic in spring, the one signal is missing. You're just not going to get the bulb. Okay? The second signal is air temperature. The average air temperature needs to be 20 degrees. Yes, 20 degrees. So we go down to minus 10 some mornings on this farm, and by 9 o'clock we at 25, 26. Okay, but your average temperature needs to be about 20 degrees. The third thing is the soil temperature must hit 15 degrees Celsius. So those are the three things you need. Day length, air temperature, and soil temperature. When all of those 3 conditions are correct for the variety of garlic you're growing, the garlic says, now's the time to start bulbing. And what happens is it goes from a single clove, which makes like a round stem, and that stem starts to swell. Once the stem starts to swell, then starts to split. The splitting doesn't happen when it starts to swell. Cool. So what happens when you hit all of those conditions and your garlic starts to swell, but it doesn't make a nice big bulb? Why? Who's had very poor bulbs this year? Anybody want to own up to poor bulbs this year?
Me.
You?
Last year.
Last year. What was your mulching like then? Thick mulching. What was your mulching like, ma'am?
Not that thick.
Not thick. Could you see the soil? Okay. Mulching is the key. So there's certain things that you can't control. You can't control the day length. It's just not possible. Okay? Unless you're God. Okay? You can't control the day length. The day length is the day length. You can't control it. You need to make sure that your crop is ready when the day length is right. That's the first thing. The second thing is you can't control the air temperature. It's not possible. Growing garlic in a tunnel is not worth it. It's a waste of tunnel space. Garlic should be grown outside. You can control the soil temperature. How do you control the soil temperature? Mulching. Okay? So that's the one thing that you can control. And if you can extend the soil's coolness for an extra 3 to 4 weeks, you'll double the size of your garlic. Done. It's as simple as that. You guys can all go home now. Okay. So those 3 rules, they're not an exact set of rules, okay, but they in that range. So it can be 13 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours. It can be 20 degrees, 18 degrees, 22 degrees. It's an approximate, but that's the set of rules, an approximate set of rules. When does garlic stop bulbing? When the air temperature hits 30 degrees and the soil temperature hits 25 degrees. Here in Gauteng, the soil can hit 25 degrees beginning of September. The soil surface can hit 25 degrees beginning of September because it's cooking, it's hot. The way that you keep that soil cool, mulch, correct. So if you're not going to mulch, you're not going to get great garlic. Excellent. Are there any questions on that? Yes, sir.
Why do you say the tunnel growing is not successful?
So, if you grow garlic in tunnels, generally most tunnels are quite warm. Garlic is a winter crop. Putting garlic into a tunnel it's literally a waste of a tunnel. Number one, it gets too hot inside the tunnel unless you are spending the money to cool the tunnel down. But then there's probably a higher value crop that you could plant inside there if you have a climate controlled tunnel. The second thing is garlic is inside that tunnel for minimum 9 months. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. For the amount of money inside a tunnel, it's just not worth it. Yes, ma'am.
What about the soil itself? What kind of soil do you need?
What kind of soil do you need? So it's a case of, I think the biggest problem with the type of soil that people are growing in is clay soil, where people struggle with clay soil. Your garlic will grow in basically any of our soils. Okay, all of the soils in South Africa are calcium deficient, which is why we recommend that you put calcitic lime down. All of the soil in South Africa is calcium deficient. So you put your calcium down. The clay soils, what I would do is I would ignore the clay and I would plant above the clay. So what you can do is if you've got clay soil and you're planting in clay soil, put down a couple of layers of cardboard, put your mulch on top of your cardboard, plant into your mulch. Okay, when the garlic grows, add more mulch. And that mulch will become your new soil horizon. What will happen is the mulch will actually break down your soil microbes, will break the cardboard down, they'll start to break the organic matter down, take that into your clay, and your your clay horizon, your clay to soil interface will slowly drop like this. But it'll take years to do that. It's not something that you can do this year, next year it's fixed. It takes years to do it. I mean, I've got a nice story on clay I can tell you after the video. I'll tell everybody after the video. Otherwise, the video gets too long. Yes, ma'am.
Can you grow it successfully in pots?
You can most definitely grow garlic successfully in pots. Make sure that the pots are not painted dark. They're not black plastic pots. Use wooden planter boxes, or if it's a dark one, paint it a light color so that it's not absorbing heat. Yes, sir.
When do you put your first layer of mulching? When you plant it, or once they
It's up to you. So what we do on Livingseeds farm is we plant our garlic, we wait until the garlic is 10 centimeters high, then we put our mulch down. What Josh does is he plants his garlic, he puts his mulch down, the garlic pushes through the mulch. That's entirely up to you. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really. It doesn't really matter. Okay, when do we know how to harvest garlic?
When when they fall over all the first 5 leaves as well.
When that falls over all the first 5 leaves. Cool. Anybody else? So, the general rule that we have espoused for the last 10 years on growing garlic is when 50% of your leaves on 50% of your crop are dry, it's time to harvest the garlic. This year we had an absolutely torrid heat wave. I mean, everyone will remember this. The heat wave was absolutely, it was destructive. And I tell Josh, this is how you harvest garlic, and this is what Josh knows. This is how you harvest garlic. And there's 2 ways to tell. The first way is 50% of the leaves is dry on 50% of the plant, or you grab the garlic plant and you give it a tug. And if the garlic comes out of the ground easily, it's ready to harvest. And it's called root shear. The roots will automatically shear when the garlic is ready to be harvested. If you harvest the garlic before root shear, the garlic won't store. That's an important thing if you're looking at storing garlic. Okay, so if you tug the garlic, there needs to be root shear. So I go down into the field, I look at what Josh is doing, and I say to Josh, this garlic crop over here, it's like 80% dry. Why is the garlic not harvested? I'm going like, dude, you're not doing your job. And he says, but we've got no root shear. And what's happened is, with the heat wave that we had, the heat wave killed the garlic back. So the leaves were dying at a rapid rate. But the bulb itself wasn't ready to come out of the ground. There was no root shear. So it's 2 things that have to happen at the same time. 50% of the garlic needs to be dry, and you have to have root shear. If you don't have root shear, you're going to lift the garlic is going to be great for a month, maybe 2 months, and then it's going to rot. And those of you that are growing garlic for profit, okay, it's going to be a bit of a disaster for any of the later garlic that you are trying to sell. Excellent. There is a video on our YouTube channel on how to test for root shear, and we show you how to test for root shear. Cool. So let's talk about our trials. And we do trials every single year. And what happens is somebody comes onto the farm and they say, Sean, here's a bag of Wonder Grow 9000. If you put this on your garlic's going to triple in size, it's going to harvest itself, and it's going to sell itself. Okay? The next guy comes along and he's got Turbo Grow 10,000. Turbo Grow 10,000 is the best product to put onto your garlic. It's absolutely fantastic. Your garlic is not going to grow 1 head, it's going to grow 2 heads. It'll still harvest itself, it'll pack itself into its own bags, and it'll sell itself. People are selling strange stuff on the internet. And everybody has their little, you got to use it like this, and you got to use it like this, and this is why, and all they want is your money. Yes? Everybody wants money. And the thing is, we're the problem, because everybody wants a shortcut. Yes? Everybody would like a shortcut, especially with a crop like garlic. that can be a difficult crop to grow if you don't get all of the things right. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 3 trials. So every single year, so what we do is every single year people come to us and they say to us, this is what I've got and I want you to buy my product. So we go, well, we don't do that. I'll take some of your product, I'll put it onto a couple of lines, and we will test it. And we'll test it on one line for the first year. So what we do is we plant a block of garlic, and we have a trial line and a block of garlic. And then if that passes the first year, the next year we'll double or triple it. So from 1 line, we'll go to 3 lines. We'll test that again. If it still works, we'll go to half a block. If it works on half a block, we'll do it on a whole block. Because what happens is I can put it down on my garlic crop and I can lose my entire garlic crop. Okay, and garlic is one of our biggest products that we sell on this farm at this time of the year. So we've done tests with a variety of fertilizers. We've done tests with foliar feeds. We've done tests with doubling fertilizer. It's like all sorts of things. I'm going to tell you about 3 tests. One of the tests is a brand new test that we've done for the first time this year. Okay, and then one of the others is a trial that is now standard operating procedure on our farm. Okay, so let me run you through these trials. So the first one is frass. So frass, who knows what frass is? Frass is insect poo. So how do you collect insect poo? Hey? Sorry? Farming insects. So here's an interesting statistic. See, I got that right, statistic. Here's an interesting statistic, and this is just like sort of left field. On an organic farm, the insects flying over an organic farm deposit 40 kilograms of nitrogen a year in poo. Just the insects flying over the farm. Because the insects have got to poo. Where do they poo? On your garden. Okay. On an organic farm, insects will deposit 40 kilograms of nitrogen alone, excluding all of the other elements. I mean, that's just, for me, that's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, so frass is insect poo. There are guys that are farming a fly called black soldier fly, BSF. So you can take BSF and you can use black soldier flies to get rid of farm waste, any organic waste. The black soldier flies will take that waste, they'll turn the waste into frass, and they'll create a new generation of black soldier flies. You can feed the larvae to your chickens, and you can take the frass and you can put the frass on your crop. So we've been running trials with frass. And it comes in a granular form, a pelleted form. There's a whole variety of different ways. We put it on 3 crops this year. I'm going to give you the results on 2 crops because the 1 crop we're not 100% happy with the results because we had a disease issue on that crop that we had to eliminate some of the crop that wasn't counted in. Okay, so the first one is Tuscan. And with Tuscan, our standard yield per line was 9.45 kilos. We put down frass, our yield was 6.21 kilos. So we had a drop with Tuscan. Understand that we had put down our standard fertilizer on our fields, and we put the frass on top of this. So we're expecting to see a higher yield. So on Tuscan, we went from 9.45 kilos down to 6.21. It's about a 30% drop in yield. As a farmer, it's like, no, not cool. Costains red. So Costains is a Siberian variety. It's quite a difficult variety to grow. Our standard yield was 5.46 kilograms per line. With frass, 11.5 kilograms per line. Double. So that tells me we need to do a bit more work with frass to try and understand why there's a difference. So is it worthwhile doing more investigation with frass? I think so. Okay, so what we'll do is we're probably going to double the trial this year and we'll expand the number of varieties we're trying it on. I don't think it's Tuscan doesn't like frass. I think there might be something else that's the problem over there. But That's why you do trials. If I went and I listened to the salesman and the salesman said, just put this all over your crop, I would have had a 30% reduction, potentially a 30% reduction in all of my garlic. Who's happy to take a 30% knock in their salary? Okay, this is why you do trials. Okay, the next one that we did was lucerne. So Inez, you can put your hand up. Okay, Inez is a friend of ours, and she said to me, Sean, I'm using lucerne meal on my plants, and my plants are growing like this, and my leaves are like this. And I'm going, yeah, you know, it's lucerne. You know, what's lucerne going to do? And she said, no, she wants to bring a guy around, wants to give me some lucerne to put onto my crops. And I said, fine, you know what, we'll try it. Okay, I don't know everything, and I'm happy to try it. I can tell you honestly, and Inez is here, I can tell you honestly, I had this much confidence in lucerne, like this much. And this is a lot of confidence for me, okay? I had no confidence in lucerne. And I think in autumn last year, Inez came and we walked down and we had a look at the crops, and the one crop was looking slightly good. The other crop, you know, there was no change. I'd looked at the stem thickness and maybe one was slightly thicker, but there wasn't any real, you know, this is working. Inez is showing me pictures of her phone of cabbage leaves that are this size. And I'm going, yeah, okay, yeah. What can I say? Okay. So lucerne has and I did this research after I got the results. Okay, I did not do the research before I tried the lucerne. Lucerne has got an enzyme in it called triacontanol. Triacontanol is a plant stimulant. It ensures cell production or cell division. It creates cell division in plants. It's a compost accelerant. If you take lucerne meal and you put it into your compost, it accelerates the speed that your compost breaks down. Lucerne is high in nitrogen. It's very high in nitrogen. The chemical ratio of lucerne is 3:1:2. So if you look at a fertilizer, they give you a ratio. Lucerne is 3:1:2, which is why Inez is getting these big, beautiful leaves, because the leaves like nitrogen. And it comes with a host of other minerals as well. We applied the lucerne in autumn. We are going to be expanding this trial this year. And we'll be trying a couple of different things with the lucerne. So, on Tuscan, our standard fertilizer program is 9.45 kilograms per row. Frass, 6.21 kilograms. Lucerne, 14.1 kilos. Hey? Mind-blowing. Costain's red. This is a difficult garlic to grow. We struggle every year, and we think we know how to grow garlic. 5.46 kilos, our standard fertilizer. Frass, 11.5 kilos. Lucerne, 12.7 kilos. So this goes to show that you can't poo-poo people's ideas. And I did. I just like Inez, and we love Inez, okay? And she was going, lucerne, lucerne, and I'm going, yeah, okay? And I take my words back. Thank you, Inez. Okay, the last trial I'm going to be telling you about is no longer a trial. This is now standard operating procedure. We got 100% increase in our yields by doing this. Okay, there's something else that we're going to be doing with this, but I will tell you about that in 3 years' time. And this is what happens. We learn things a season at a time, and it takes us a couple of years. So I'm not going to tell you do this unless I know it's going to work. Okay, and we do something called awesome. Who's seen our awesome video? Nobody. Okay, so our awesome video is activated worm effluent. Awesome. And there's a better way of saying it. It's activated worm elixir. Sounds better, yes? Activated worm elixir. So what we do is we have a worm farm in our show garden. There's a bench inside the show garden. That's actually a worm farm. We have leachate that comes out of the worm farm. We take the leachate, we put it into a 1,000-liter water bowser. We add 5 kilos of molasses. We put a fish tank air stone inside there. We bubble it up. Sometimes we add a couple of other things in, but that is the base mix. Worm leachate, 5 kilos or 5 liters of molasses, and 1,000 liters of water with a fish tank air stone. And the fish tank air stone turns the water and it puts oxygen into that mix. And what happens is, depending on the temperature, if it's warm like this, we can start it today, tomorrow morning it's ready to use, like 24 hours later. And it looks like a dirty cappuccino foam on the top, and it smells like a lockdown brew. You guys know what I'm talking about, hey? It smells like a fermented fruit brew, okay? And what happens there is that there's soil bacteria in the leachate. You put the soil bacteria into the water with sugar. The bacteria is looking for sugar. They eat the sugar, they multiply, the population explodes. And now you have a water bowser with trillions of soil bacteria. And they're all looking for food. You take that, and what we do is we'll drive the water bowser down into the fields, and I'll have my staff with a watering can. They'll fill the watering can, and all they do, and they walk at this pace. They take the watering pan and they walk at this pace. So it's not every plant gets a little bit. They're just walking and they're just pouring it onto the soil. So you're pouring soil bacteria into your soil. Those of you, and I made an agreement with the people yesterday, and I'll make the same agreement with you guys today. If you come to our March, because we're not doing a talk in February, if you come to our March talk, you bring a 5-liter container. I'll give you a 5-liter container of our ore and biochar mix. I'll talk about biochar now. Okay, and this is standard operating procedure on every single crop on Livingseeds farm. You put this stuff on, you put the stuff onto your plants, you will see a difference in your plants within 12 hours. You put it on in the afternoon, tomorrow morning the plant looks different. The plant stands different, the color is different, the plant looks different. And it's always good to put it, if you've got a row of something, you put it on half the row. So you can see the difference. It's mind-blowing. Yes, ma'am?
If we can't make the Saturday talk, what will happen then?
It can't be stored. That's the problem, is it can't be stored. So what needs to happen is, if you try and store it, there's an oxygen depletion in the mix, and then everything dies. And it goes from a fermented fruit-smelling smell to it smells like a sewer. Like, I promise you, it actually probably smells worse than a sewer. Okay? Because now you have trillions of bacteria that were alive, and now they've all died. And that you can't put onto your soil. The next thing we do is we make biochar. Who knows what biochar is? Cool. Yes, we've given you some biochar.
No, but I use it on the orchids.
You only use it on the orchids. Fantastic. Cool. So biochar is it's a very pure form of charcoal made in a very specific process. And we are going to do a biochar talk shortly and show you how we make biochar. And let me not say any more, but we will try and have some biochar retorts for you. Okay, so basically what we do is we take wood and we burn it without flames. That's the easiest way to actually explain it. We burn it without flames, but there's lots of flames. It's very cool. I've got most of a video of biochar. I think I'll have a look and see if I can put the video up onto YouTube. It's all been shot. We just need to piece it together. So we take the biochar, we make this very, very pure form of carbon, of charcoal, and all it is it's 100% carbon. Everything else has been removed. Okay, which means that this carbon is now nutrient hungry. If you take the carbon and you put it directly into your soil, it'll lock up every single nutrient inside your soil, like this, and it'll hold it. And that's a problem. You don't want to put that into your soil, okay, because it'll just absorb. It's got a very, very high cation exchange capacity. Okay, and what it'll do is it'll absorb every single nutrient out of your soil and lock it up inside the carbon. However, if you charge the biochar with something before you put it into your soil, it benefits your soil. So who's heard about terra preta in South America? The Incas and the Andes, they created fabulous gardens and they used biochar. They used a very crude form of biochar, but they used biochar. Cool. So guys can Google terra preta, and you'll learn about it. Okay. So there's a couple of ways of charging biochar. You can take the biochar and just leave it in the sun, leave it in the rain. The rain will charge the biochar. You can put it into your soil. What we do is we have an incinerator. Who knows what an incinerator is? Anybody know what an incinerator is? Who knows what a sink waste disposal unit is? In the American movies, you see the guys with a sink waste disposal unit and they drop something in and they put their hand inside and you go, it's going to turn on. Am I right? You know what I'm talking about? That's the unit I'm talking about. So we've got an incinerator. It's a sink waste disposal unit. We have tried grinding the biochar in a hammer mill. And if you're a white guy, you become Ubuntu very quickly. Okay? Because, and I can tell you from experience, it takes 4 days to remove all of the biochar dust out of all of the creases on your body. Okay? This is what happens. Okay? So don't put the biochar through a hammer mill. It's not cool. Take the biochar, put it through a sink waste disposal unit, and use your activated worm effluent as the liquid, and you have no dust. And your biochar is charged by the activated worm effluent. You take this and you pour it onto your fields. Fantastic. Double the yield. Okay, it is now standard operating procedure on Livingseeds farm. So let me tell you about our mistakes. We make mistakes with garlic, and the reason why we make mistakes with garlic is because generally we are lazy. Am I right? Okay, that is why. And the thing is, you can't reverse time to fix the mistake. Just note the lot. Okay? Suck it up. That is your harvest. Do better next year. And I think the biggest mistake is not understanding the needs of garlic. There are conditions that garlic needs to grow. If you ignore the conditions, you won't grow great garlic. You'll get garlic, but you're not going to grow great garlic. And everybody wants to grow great garlic. The next thing is not weeding. The number of times I see photographs on our Facebook group of people with their garlic crop. And here's my garlic crop, and you've got to sort of dodge the weeds to find the garlic crop. And they say, I mean, the garlic is standing this high and the weeds are standing this high. I'm a little bit behind on my weeding, is the comment. And you go, no, you're not behind on your weeding. You just did not weed. Okay. So what we do, and if you look at our YouTube videos, what we do for weeding, I don't like spending money on staff weeding. They need to do other things. So what we do is we only weed where the plants are. In the pathways between our beds, the weeds are this tall. Our staff go through. We have a contract with a company called DJ Afvalpapier, and DJ Afvalpapier drops six or 8 tons of cardboard on our farm on a regular basis. We take the cardboard. So one cardboard box flattened is 2 layers of cardboard. We put 4 layers of cardboard down on top of the weeds. We put mushroom compost on top. No weeding. The weeds die because the weeds can't grow through the cardboard. And then we only need to weed where the garlic is. And I've just knocked out 70% of our weeding problem. I can do that. The next mistake is not spending money on mulch. Mulch, after our staff costs, mulch is probably the second biggest expense that we have on this farm. We import, when I say import, we're not overseas. We import onto our farm. There's a mushroom farm down the road over here. We import 60 tons of mushroom compost every week. Wow. 60 tons a week. I'm looking at what I'm spending on mushroom compost and I'm saying to Josh, can I stop the mushroom compost? It's getting expensive. Josh says, no, I need more mushroom compost. 60 tons a week. If you look down past the chicken runs, you'll see long rows of mushroom compost, and there's long rows all over the farm. And that mushroom compost is what we use. It's not something you put into your soil, it's something you put on top of your soil. It is not compost. It's called mushroom compost. It is not compost. Spend money on mulch. If you can't afford to spend money on mulch, it's going into autumn. Okay, take the time to go to your local dump, and all of the guys that are bringing leaves to go and dump at the dump, put them onto my bakkie, please. Put them onto my trailer, please. When we started over here, we were broke. Every weekend, I used to go to the Henley dump, and all of the Lani people living in Henley with all of their beautiful oak trees, they would take bags and bags of oak leaves to the dump. And I would do 3 trips a Saturday, and that was my compost. That's how we started. Fortunately now, because of you guys, I can afford to buy compost. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Can one use pine needles as compost?
Absolutely, you can use pine needles as compost. Everybody goes, oh, it's going to make your soil acidic. Yes? No, it doesn't. Pine needles will not make your soil acidic.
Pine cones as well?
I don't know about pine cones. There are a number of scientific studies. So whenever you look for something on Google, okay, don't look for it on Facebook, because Facebook is full of people. Okay? Whenever you're looking for something, for some information, Google, and you can Google this, pine needle mulch peer review. The key word is peer review. And what that spits out is scientific papers. And you can take those scientific papers and you can read them. And you know what? It's peer reviewed, which generally means that it's pretty good, but it doesn't mean that it's right. Okay? But it means that it's been replicated at least once or twice. So Google pine needle mulch peer review. And it'll come back and it'll tell you that pine needles don't make acidic soil. Cool.
Sean, for those who want to buy smaller quantities of grass or hay or whatever, Pet Harper has big bags like this for 60 Rand.
Sure. Okay.
That's where I get mine from. This is around the corner.
Cool. Yeah.
I get my gardeners to cut it up into smaller pieces, put it back into the bag, and when I need it, it's there.
You just use it like that. Yeah. So you can get, so when you're looking at mulch, you can get hay, you can get straw. Do not buy baled grass for feeding animals, because then you're starting a grass farm. And it's not the nice grass, it's the grass that grows tall. Okay. The next mistake, and we did this for years because we couldn't afford drip irrigation, overhead watering. If you have overhead water, if you're doing overhead watering, you're going to get rust. It's guaranteed. If you can't afford to go to drip, then what you do is you go and buy some copper soap, and as soon as your garlic comes out of the ground and the temperatures start to drop, so sort of mid to late May, every 21 days, spray copper soap, whether you have rust or not. Every 21 days, spray copper soap at 50% of the recommended dose. So half of the recommended dose, spray copper soap. When you start seeing rust, same dose, drop it down to 14 days. If you won't be able to eradicate it, but you can control it. Okay, if that rust continues to expand, drop it down to every 7 days and up your concentration. Never exceed the dosage on the bottle. even if it's a certified organic product. Never exceed the dosage. Oh, but it's organic, I can just weigh it on. Don't. Measure it out, do it properly. Okay, cool. So overhead watering is going to cause rust. If you want to eliminate rust, go with drip irrigation. Your drip irrigation can be above the mulch, below the mulch, it doesn't really matter. We've just put a nice video out on YouTube on drip irrigation systems and how they work. And then the last mistake, and this is something that we learned this year. It's a new mistake that we've learned this year. We've always recommended to our customers, harvest your garlic, and as long as it's not going to rain, leave it in the field for a day or two so it can dry off nicely. You want these wrapper leaves to dry off nicely so you've got a nice presentable garlic. Okay? And it's a case of the wrapper leaves don't do anything besides make a nice presentable garlic. So we said harvest your garlic, leave them in the sun for a day or two, then take them inside, hang them so they can dry off nicely. This year, we did exactly the same as what we've done for the last 10 years growing garlic. This is a variety called Spanish White, which we are not selling this year because of this mistake. Okay. If I sold you garlic like that, how many bad messages would I have on Facebook? Plenty. That is sunburn. Okay. We've lost a massive proportion of this variety this year. Not because of disease, not because of, well, it was stupidity. Okay. 43 degrees Celsius does this to garlic. Okay, so we are now going to change our standard operating procedure for garlic, and when the garlic is harvested, it's going to be dried under shade, or it's going to be, the initial curing is under shade. Okay, so, and these are mistakes that happen. This is what happens. Suck it up. Unfortunately, there's no Spanish White for you guys this year. And it's probably our most popular variety. It's one of the two most popular varieties that we sell. Guys, that is my garlic talk for today. If you want the full, exactly blow by blow on how to grow garlic, please look at the 1-hour video on our YouTube channel. That was last year's How to Grow Great Garlic talk. We've done slightly differently this year to give you some additional new content that'll actually help you guys to grow garlic. Ma'am, at the back.
I just want to find out if you use the lucerne, does it matter if it's organic or not?
It always matters if it's organic.
So where do you get organic?
So I'm trying to source I'm trying to find a source of organic lucerne. That is next week's problem for us. We haven't actually even started looking.
It's from Arno.
So Arno sells, if you have a chat to Inez, Arno could probably sell you the lucerne. Yeah. Cool. Yes, sir.
What happens to my worm leachate? It runs for a few hours, then we've got load shedding for 2 hours or 2.5 hours.
Okay.
Then it runs again. Is it worth doing it?
So you can buy battery operated fish tank pumps. That's the first thing. So I've got a fish tank at my house. Fortunately, we run on solar, so I don't really understand what load shedding is. I actually do understand what load shedding is because that Vodacom tower there and that MTN tower there, they suffer from load shedding. The Vodacom tower goes down 25 minutes after load shedding. The MTN tower, depending on if it's during the day, it lasts for an hour and a half. If it's at night or on the weekend, it lasts 45 minutes. Okay, and they haven't replaced the battery. So, and we run an online business, so we know what the problem is. I would go and buy a battery-operated fish tank pump. I have never... Can we turn the phone off, please?
It's yours.
It's my timer to say my hour's up. I'm going, oh, hello. Oh, guys. Hey, that was excellent. Okay. So I have never, I've never run the experiment to see how long that Bowser will last with load shedding. But I know that we will turn the air pump off, and it'll probably take us about an hour or two, if not longer, to use all of it. The problem is we're driving it around the farm, so it's sloshing inside the water bowser, which is actually stimulating oxygen exchange. I can't answer that question for you. My advice is go and buy a cheapie, and I think they're like $200 or $300 for a battery-operated air pump.
So on that note, I don't think it'll be a problem in the early stages because you're oxygenating the water and the population of bacteria is still building. Once it's reached its maximum carrying capacity and there's a massive population, 3 hours probably enough to start having die off. So I don't think it's as bad of a problem as it's building, but when it's ready, you need to use it.
Yeah, correct, 100%, Josh. Yeah, so, and I know I actually bought one of those battery fish tank pumps the other day, and they don't use D-cell batteries anymore. You just plug it in and into a USB port and it charges, which is really cool. Guys, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
In a home garden, how much sun does garlic need per day?
All of it. Okay, garlic needs full sun. Garlic is not a partial shade. 6 hours of it needs full sun. Garlic wants full sun, and that's also the problem. Is because it needs full sun, especially when we're going into spring. Those temperatures soar, so your soil heats up very quickly. So if you're not mulching, you're going to set your garlic back. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Guys, I want to thank you very much. I made it for an hour.